Your kids might be obsessed with fidgets right now, but they have a lot of great sensorial benefit and they can be great tools for your kids. In today's video, I'm going to wrap up some of our favorites that we've been using in our house that you might want to consider for your kids. Hey you guys, it's Christina from the Purple Alphabet. Now I've already done a few videos in the past about fidgets and how to use them in play, how to use them for learning, and some of our favorites that are in there too. So in today's video, I was going to kind of update that and show you some more favorites that we have found in my house that my kids have been liking. Plus I'll give you a couple of ideas and ways that you can use them for learning and play. The main goal of this video is to give you ideas and inspirations in using these popular fidget toys with your kids or even your students or even your therapy kids if you're a therapist, using them with learning and as a learning tool because they already like them, and so we definitely want to encourage learning through play. So this first one I fell in love with. It's brand new to me. It's called Building Blocks Game. It's recommended for ages 3 and up, and it's actually very similar to one that I showed you in a previous video where it has all of these Tetris-like pieces. I'm going to try and see if I find that. I'll put a picture so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I mentioned that in my other fidget video. This one is similar, that has all of those Tetris pieces, but it has a few extra things. Comes with this balancer, or it's called like a stage. It's a space theme. It just happens to be the sticker on here. So it stays up on its side like this, and it kind of rocks back and forth. So the main goal is to balance all these pieces on here. So this becomes a fine motor activity as well as an understanding of balance and symmetry, right? So we're putting the pieces on here and we're trying to balance them. This is the simplest way to play this game, is to keep adding the pieces on so that they do balance the whole entire time. And it's kind of like a little puzzle piece. I know you can't see the side of it because of the way my camera is, but here is basically what it looks like when it was balancing. What's great about this set is that it also comes with this card set, which I love because it gives you prompts. So you can play this game, with other players, and you can try to take turns in balancing. So for example, this says, put this shape on the stage. So you have to find that shape and put it on here. Next person will have to do this one, put this shape on the stage. And of course you can develop your own rules on this. So you have to put it on here so it still balances and the pieces don't fall off. So a great group game to play. What I really think is neat about this is that if you have younger kids and you want this game to last, because I'm all about extension, making things go farther than they're originally intended for. Perfect cards for just matching shapes. So you put this card down, can you find this shape? And they would look for it. So these cards are a great addition to this game. So you can play it solo without the cards. You can use the cards, you cannot. You can use the cards for the younger ones. I mean, I just adore that. Another benefit is that there's several of these. So if you have that younger child, that preschooler, you can do simple shape matching or color matching in this case. You can also have one set for you and one for your child, and you can punch little bubbles on the pieces and have them mimic what you punched. So show them this and say, okay, can you copy that? And then they can copy that. If that becomes too easy, you can combine shapes. So let's say you let's do this yellow one over here and then this yellow one here. And then you say, okay, can you make that? So they'd have to find the pieces. Make it easier by just providing the pieces. So maybe you just give them those two and say, can you make that from these two? And if you want to make it more challenging, provide all the pieces and then they have to find those two. Even harder, need something more difficult, then make a different shape. Let's do, and then maybe this. So even more complicated and more challenging when you add more pieces. This could even be a game too where you time them to see if they can complete this within a certain time frame. Visual discrimination on this is really easy because you can say, can you find this shape? And then they have to find it. You have to remember that they're looking at the shapes. They might be in a position like this. So maybe they have to turn it a certain way for it to match. Does that match? Not quite. Maybe if they turned it over, it's going to match. So really recognizing those details and how the shapes are made and then their orientation. Lots of work on this one. I know it's a lot. I'm talking all kinds of ideas on this one, but that's why I like it so much, because you could use it for the younger ones and you can use it all the way to the older ones for the more challenging balancing part. Love this. Love the card. I'm going to put the links to everything I talk about in this video down below so you can go directly to it if you're interested in seeing what these are about. But this one definitely is a favorite just because of what it comes with. And then super fast, it does come with this extra game too. I know it's like, wait, there's more. So it's like this game game board that's folded. It's a piece of paper. I'd laminate this if I were you, but that's just me. And it talks about how to play this new game, or this game on this paper down here. I'm not going to go into details. And then also they're recommending free play with these two to make your own shapes and your own building things. So they're kind of like little building blocks. This one might look like your ordinary bubble popper, because essentially it is. It's a bubble popper, and it's just like the normal ones that you'd see, except it has these numbers printed on it. And in my last fidget video, I think I showed you one that had numbers on it, 1 to 100 maybe. And that was basically like a 100 chart. This one is very similar to the Montessori multiplication board. And I actually have a whole video, if I remember, put up there. If I forget, someone tell me so I can add it. There'll be a little icon that you can go and click and watch it. This one has numbers going 1 through 9 on this side, and then 1 through 9 on the top. And there's a little X up here in the corner too. And it's for doing multiplication. So quite simply, you could have a math problem and say 2 times 5. So you'd go here, 2 times 5, and you'd find the 5 up there. And then where they meet is where your answer will be. And in this case, 10. They can also punch out all the other ones. And essentially what they've done is they've created an array. I'll turn it over, and they can do it all over again. Now in Montessori, they actually use beads to make an array. So they would take something to put inside. I have pom-poms. These are like from, I don't know, they're not the dollar store ones. They're actually quite smaller than the ones from Dollar Tree, because these bubbles are kind of small. I think I got them from a craft store or something. But you would do the same thing. So you'd have a math problem, let's say 3 times 3, and you'd punch those out, and then you can punch out all of the ones to make your array, and then you can have some one-to-one correspondence. So they would actually put the beads on each section there, one by one, for fine motor using the pincer grass. They would make an array, and of course you can get these all the same color if you want. So we have 3 rows of 3. So in Montessori, they want to visually show you what 3 times 3 is, and in this case we have 3 rows of 3, which is 3 times 3, and then they can actually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to know that 3 rows of 3 equals 9. Another way to use this besides the pom-poms would be good old multiplication flashcards. Multiplication flashcards can come from the dollar store. I'll put some down below as well, but this is a great prompt in the way that they can use it themselves. So the way I would suggest using this is to take one of the flashcards, one of the math problems, and to say, okay, 3 times 4, what is 3 times 4? And if they're at the stage where they know their math problems, then they can actually state the answer and say, I think it's 12, or it is 12. Then they can do the math here on their multiplication popper, 3 times 4, and then they can find where the 2 rows meet, and they can check their answer. If they're not at that stage yet where they know their multiplication facts and they're just learning what 3 times 4 means visually, you can go ahead and have them do 3 times 4 and then do all the popping to find the answer. So there's different levels that you need to take it at and consider it. I wanted to demonstrate that these multiplication boards are also great for skip counting. If you have the 2s, you can easily visually see that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Skip counting is shown here on the graph. We have the 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So you're doing a lot of reinforcement of those things like skip counting, and you can use this as a tool, a visual tool for them to see it. Another great visual representation is finding, what other numbers, factors of 24, for example. So they can go and find all the 24s, and then they can say, okay, well, 8 times 3 equals 24. You can say 6 times 4 equals 24. 4 times 6 equals 24. And they can find the relationships between all of the numbers that will multiply to make 24. So a really good tool to use. If you're going to have fidgets in your house, you might as well have one that is educational for your kids, right? I mean, I'm sure you will agree. So this one is a lot of fun. It's kind of your next step up after your 100 board popper. These were a fun find. I was very excited to see these for many reasons, actually. They are individual poppers, right? And look at the size of these. Let me find them and compare them to that multiplication popper. Here we go. So you can see compared to these are really large bubbles. So they're really satisfying to pop. They come in multiple colors. I didn't quite see like a rainbow packet. This is one packet. These are actually combined. So if you look on the side here, there's little grooves, and you can slide them together to make them or build them into different things. The only thing I will have to say about that is that they're not easy easy to put together and they're not easy to take apart. So it takes a little bit of force. So this is probably for your older child that be able to be okay with it. A younger child's going to get super frustrated with that. I'll tell you that right off the bat. Totally different ways to use this. So many ways. One, it's a great just fidget and small enough to fit into a hand. So that's great. We can do simple basic counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Popping as we go. Add some to here. Okay, if we take away one of these, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Another great thing to do is patterning, right? So ABA patterning. What comes next? It's going to be black, yellow, black, yellow. What I really like for this is using them for counting syllables. So they can have a flashcard, or you can write them down if you want, on a piece of paper. You can have words, vocabulary words that they're working on then, and do syllable countings. Normally we do clapping, frog. This is the same thing, but just popping. Frog, 1 syllable. Okay, let's try a different one. Normally you do clapping, robot, but this is robot. Making that learning syllables skill very hands-on and fun with the popper. So I do think that that is a great way to use these with syllables. A lot of times therapy, or even at home, people use task lists for their kids to keep them on track. I just know in therapy that was where we were introduced to using a task list. So here's some things that a child would maybe do in the morning: brush teeth, wash face, that kind of thing. And I just wrote them on a dry erase board. And so what you can do is take a couple of those bubbles or those poppers, interlock them together, and place them there as your kind of check off. So when they brush their teeth, they can pop a bubble. When they wash their face, they can pop a bubble. A really great way to incorporate some fun bubble popping to mark off the things that they've done on their list. Very, very simple. Love that idea. And I just think it's a great way and a fun way too to kind of check things off. Since these can be put together, why not make a 10 frame? So I have a 10 frame here. I do wish they were all like the same color or alternating or whatever, but it is what it is. Get multiple packs if that bothers you. But for sake of example, here's a 10 frame. 10 frame is basically 5 on the top row, 5 on the bottom row, and it's to introduce beginning math concepts. So what's really cool about this is that you can use it for counting. So let's just count out 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can use it for what would make 10. 4 plus what would equal 10. Let's write it on the dry erase board here so you can get a better visual of what that would look like. So maybe you did a couple of math problems on a dry erase board that look like this. And this is part of learning about base 10. So I have some math problems here. So now I've punched out 4 or popped 4, and I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 plus 6 equals 10. Pop them back out, and then you can do the next one. 3, 2, 3 plus what equals 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they get to learn the math problems that way. Also, if you have that younger child that's not quite ready for this kind of skill, I just wanted to point out that these are great for one-to-one correspondence with 10 frames. So you can also use the pom-poms in here with the pincer graphs and placing them one by one in there. That's too easy. You can also add a tool. I always talk about using tools to make things more challenging, even challenging for me. There we go. Come on. And of course, you could always use them just for building, right? The most simplest form of play, free play, building, stacking, that sort of thing. I did want to mention some other fidgets that we have been loving, because in that other fidget video, I just basically showed you a lot of our favorites, and we have some new favorites since then. This one is just a bunch of colored straws put together by string, but it's very pliable. I've showed it to you before. This is probably one of our holiday favorites that we got. Put that down below. These are really great. They're kind of like squigs. They stick together. I've showed them to you before in a different video, but not a fidgets video. They stick together. They stick to windows. You can get them in different sizes, and they're very entertaining for several different ages. My kids think they're pretty awesome, and they're 8 and 10, but I know if they were 3 and 4, they'd still love them. These were also a Christmas favorite that I wanted to show. They're like kaleidoscopes, and they're just infinity, keep going and going, and they come in so many different colors and shapes. And then the tangle. This is a classic one. It's been around forever. It's probably one of the most original fidgets that have ever been out there. Comes in different sizes. This is the smaller version, so it's like a pocket size one. It's just basically tangles. It's basically what it does is rectangles, you can pop it up, make it longer with some multiple ones. You could use one hand with it. You can use multiple hands. And then the larger one too is just a little bit bigger. So we do like all of these fidgets and we use them quite frequently. So I wanted to make sure I mention them, although they're not specifically for learning purposes, that they are out there and they're great for sensorial purposes. If you want some more fidget idea videos, I'm going to put another video I've done before in the past up here on the screen, so you can go check that out next. I'll see you over there. Make sure to click subscribe to see more videos like this and give me a thumbs up to show your love.